Good evening and welcome to We the Village, produced by Ron Hall, and I am your host, Sharonda Allen. Today I have my guest, Sheila Montague, in studio with me. Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your long, busy day to appear as my guest today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So first of all, I would like for you to introduce yourself. Tell me just who are you? Tell me some things about you.
Okay, sure. So first and foremost, I'm a mom. I'm a resident of Newark. I'm an educator, lifelong educator. Currently, I'm an adjunct professor at Essex County College in Newark, and I also teach 7th grade. I'm a wife of 17 years, and I'm someone who loves our community.
Excellent, excellent. So what is your educational background?
Okay, so definitely went to school in Newark. I always represent Malcolm X Shabazz, Bulldogs for life, right? I played basketball there, but I graduated from Barringer, so I have to represent as a Blue Bear as well. So I have my bachelor's from Keene University, and I'm nearly completed my master's in administration and supervision at Seton Hall.
Nice. So basically, now what was your bachelor's degree in?
Education, teaching certification, secondary ed.
Okay. So basically, did you always know that you wanted to be a teacher?
Well, yes. Yes and no. I always played teaching when I was little. It came natural. I loved it, but I didn't decide to become a teacher until I actually got into college. And it was because at that point in my life, a teacher so encouraged me to go to college that's what I ended up studying, that coursework, associated with teaching.
Yes, I wasn't always going to be a teacher. I'm a teacher now, but I had an experience where I was able to give so much back to a group of young ladies, and that's what made me say, this is where the action is. This is where the magic happens.
It's the work, yes.
Yes.
The magic is in the work, indeed,
yes.
indeed.
So, and you're also working on an advanced degree at Seton Hall?
Absolutely. A lot of things that I saw that there was a wall I felt in education that I couldn't go further, so I sought out to get my administration and supervision degree in an effort to change a lot of the things that I saw that was going on with education, and I felt like a higher education could do more to remedy those situations.
Right, and I think a lot of us who are in education, we do get those further degrees, those graduate degrees, because we realize that many times to fix a lot of the issues and the policies, we have to be in those higher positions. We have to be in those administrative positions to make decisions.
Absolutely.
But one thing for me is that I do my change and my impact not only in the classroom but through curriculum.
Right.
Because sometimes you want to help the children and make those changes, but there's a lot of adult work you have to do that sometimes I'm just not willing to,
and you're right,
participate in.
The curriculum is definitely the key. For years, I had the pleasure of doing a lot of work with curriculum, but and they even have laws in place so that the federal government doesn't have their hand in curriculum at all. But during the course of time, that has changed. So, we have Common Core, we have a lot of other, I don't want to say infiltrations, but a lot of different pieces that have come into play in the name of education reform. And so we don't have the autonomy over the curriculum as we once did.
Right. So, and with that, with your education and what you're doing, I have to also commend you for being an educator. A middle school educator?
It's rough.
Okay.
It's rough. No one knows. Well, you may know.
I know because I did it. And no, thank you. I shan't.
I get that a lot. I get that a lot.
Okay.
I get that a lot. So again, because I've been trained specifically with secondary ed, a lot of that training resorts back to teaching seventh grade and middle school, because the students are going through adolescence, there's hormones at play, they're trying to see where they fit in, not quite a kid, not yet an adult.
Right.
So it's a very challenging time for kids, and I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to be there to help navigate that entire process.
Wonderful, wonderful. So when you talk about your education and your family and things, I know that you've had a particular experience as a cancer survivor, and I'm not sure of how it happened or what it was, but I know that many times when people survive cancer, they feel a victory in life.
Yes.
Can you just talk a little bit about that and how that may have motivated you as far as, working in education and things of that nature?
Well, I've always been a person that is pretty happy-go-lucky, and that really played a huge part in battling cancer. I think the biggest part is mental.
Right.
That biggest piece is mental, just fighting and having that gumption to live and that gumption to be victorious in that fight. But being honest, it was to a 10, being the max the entire time. But after I battled and won, there was a depression that came after that. And that's where the challenge lied for me. I'm a fighter, and I'm happy. I keep a good spirit, but I couldn't believe that it was over. It was weird. I wasn't expecting to, feel depressed after that, but it was something else that I had a victory over. But I like to share that realness, because to other women and people in general who fight cancer, they need to know that it's real. And not that they don't know if they've been there, but those are just some of the things that's associated with battling something like that,
So it seems as though you stayed very strong, but then once it was over, it was almost like you allowed yourself to just, feel the emotions.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because and that's a great way to put it, because I didn't during the time. It was just that I'm going to beat this. This is not going to beat me.
Right.
And it was like that the whole time, and then it was like a drop, like I did it, and then,
Because you had that adrenaline going.
Yeah, indeed.
And then you said, oh.
Yeah, but it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot. It has made me a stronger person. It has made me see life in a different way, and definitely the value of life has increased. And not just for me, but for the people around me, for the people in my community that you want to see doing better, eating better, right? Because that's a big component of disease fighting of any sort, and so. Like I said, it's changed me into a better person at the end.
Right, and I'm so into the nutrition thing. I have a lettuce addiction and a minced pepper addiction.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yes, and
I'm trying to implement more leafy vegetables into my diet.
Right.
I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
It's great. It's great. And and that's the thing, like, when you say you like to see other people do, and I'm so grateful because I've inspired my students. Now they're like, wow, you got some peppers, and but that's what we are as role models, as mothers.
Indeed.
And that's what we have to do, because as mothers, we teach our children what to eat.
Absolutely.
They eat what we eat. We show them in our community. We have to show better examples.
Very important. And we also have to bring back farming.
Oh, yeah.
Even if we just start simple with seasonings and just simple things. Basil, and we have to, show our children that as well.
Yeah, that's one of my thrusts too. Oh my God, everything. I love it. So let's talk about your community work. When you talk about gardens, what kind of work have you done in the community?
Wow, I've done a lot of work. Even with being a teacher, the advocacy there from teaching fashion, talent, and modeling, because those are some things that build self-esteem in young ladies. So I've had the pleasure of doing that for years. Again, free. Right. But you see the magic that happens, and you see the self-esteem that comes from that, and so that's the work we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Also, I've been able to coach basketball in our community, and I've been able to use that vehicle to send many kids to college via high school. I was a feeder school for two of the top basketball programs in Newark, which was Shabazz and University High at the time. Nice. And and they look forward to that, and just the whole camaraderie, the whole unity, introducing teamwork to young people and teaching them how they're parts of a whole. So those things were very intricate, in just the community work that I've done. And also coaching debate. Currently, I'm working with a partner, and we're trying to bring a debate program to Newark, and pretty soon I'm going to give you more information about that. I'll have that posted on my page. But what we're trying to do is really introduce the art of debate, reintroduce, because Newark has a fantabulous debate team. It's awesome. But we're trying to reintroduce debate to a lot of young people who may not have been acquainted with it just yet, but just being able to articulate your thoughts and ideas in a way that's not offensive, and to be able to articulate thoughts and ideas and understand that it's about the points on the table and not about the person.
Right.
So that's, you know, that's again some more community work that I've done, and that's with the youth. But in terms of other community work, we have I've formulated groups with other people where we've went out into the community to teach, I'll say maybe 20-year-olds, to introduce them to the concept of entrepreneurialism and how to use real estate as a vehicle of making money and becoming, you know, their own business people. I've had the opportunity to work with several people in those ventures, and as well as right now, I've started a current group for young women, and it's on the ground floor, but we're gaining a lot of traction. Every day we're getting more and more members, and we want to start, you know, just around the world, having people to join into just women empowerment and upliftment.
Right, I love that. I'm all big on female empowerment.
Indeed, and
Girl
we need
power.
that. Yeah,
Yes.
we have to encourage each other.
And I just want to get back to some of the points that you made. You talked about when you're coaching the young people.
Yes.
Sportsmanship is a big deal.
Indeed. Indeed.
Okay? Sportsmanship, how to win gracefully, how to lose gracefully. You can't go, I beat you, sucker.
Right,
You can't.
right.
And we have to teach our kids
It's so
that
important.
that's not what's important. It's good
Yeah.
game, good match.
Right,
You know, I can't believe I lost, and they're going tantrums. They can't do that.
Right,
You know, and I
right.
think, you know, for me, growing up in the time that I grew up, seeing a lot of these athletes in the 80s and the 90s, some of them had just had such poor sportsmanship.
Wow. Yeah, I remember a couple.
You remember?
Yeah.
They were on TV
I
throwing
remember a
tantrums, and it was
couple.
just like, you know, they were new money.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody from Philly, but yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
without naming
yeah.
people's names.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
that is something that
Yeah, it is.
we have
It
to
is.
show our youth.
It is.
You
It
know?
is. Because if you want any level of success, that starts with sportsmanship. It doesn't matter
Absolutely.
what that is. And it's important that we have a mindset to compete, but at the same time understand that what happens in our mind, right? It plays a big role on how we compete and how we deal with loss. And in
Yes.
order to be truly successful, we have to learn how to lose in terms of just being reflective,
Right.
to see what we can do to make ourselves better so that
Yeah.
we can become more and more competitive, so that, to the point that we're not losing, and that's what a victory is.
And not sore losers.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. No one likes a sore loser.
No, right.
No
It's
one
like,
likes
you know
to
what?
say
I probably should have practiced more. And
Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah, you got to look internally.
Yes, and it's a great reflective thing. You know, how much soda did that child drink when they needed to compete and their body
Right.
didn't have the right endurance?
Yes.
Were they eating
Yes.
vegetables?
That's
Okay.
important. That's
Did they get enough
important.
rest?
And it's not talked about, but that's definitely something we want to bring to the forefront.
Yeah, that's something that I am concerned about when
Indeed.
we deal with student athletes. Where is their nutritional level? Where is their
Right.
nutritional value?
Right.
You know, getting enough rest.
Yes,
You
that's
know?
so key. That's
Yeah.
so key.
Because we as adults, you know, we burn our candles at both ends, and we're like zombies, and we're like, I mean, I had a point where my body was just like, stop.
Wow.
And there was nothing else I could do.
Your body will let you know.
It sure did.
It'll let
But
you know.
I'm back.
Awesome.
The phoenix has arisen from the ashes, you know, and I'm
Wonderful.
back to do the work again.
Well, I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're back.
You know, so I want to also talk about communication with debate. Debate, like the film The Great Debaters.
Right, right.
To me was so important, and I showed it. When it first, you know, came out years ago, I showed it to my students. Everybody wanted to debate, and so now we've got debate teams back.
Right,
you know,
right,
And I
right.
think, and I explained to my students, you can disagree without being disagreeable.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, and disagreements are important.
Yes.
It reminds you of the fact that you have rights, right?
Yes.
Freedom of speech, that you have rights
Yes.
to think critically and independently on subject matters. And those things can be discussed without, like you said, being argumentative. And a lot of times in our communities, people see arguments as a bad thing, you know, something
Right.
that carries a negative connotation.
Yes.
When that's not the situation at all. You can have good arguments,
Yes.
as long as it's not attackful and you're not insulting people.
Yes.
But if you keep it to what the
points.
subject matter is, right?
Yes.
Facts, evidence,
Right.
and support, that's what it's about.
Right, I agree, and that's why I think that is something important for our children to know,
Yes.
that they can talk through things.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
What about your organization as far as talking is concerned? Tell us about your organization.
So the name of my organization is W.A.G.E, and
Okay.
it's an acronym for Women Advocating for Gender Equality. And the reason why I started this organization up is because a couple of reasons. One thing is I had the wonderful opportunity of working with Hillary Clinton this campaign season on her campaign.
Nice.
And I just saw how women were treated overall in terms of politics, in terms of just leadership, whether you're in corporate or education. I noticed for the first time ever how the female anatomy is even political.
Of course.
I never realized that before. Like when you walk in the room, people will judge you based on how you look. If you're, really shapely, they tend to deem you as, maybe a loose female. And if you notice when Hillary Clinton would give speeches, she had like these outfits on that went all the way up here to her neck. You know, her arms was totally pantsuits, and it was almost like she was, made to look masculine. And I think that you can still look feminine and be a woman and still be looked upon as a good leader. But now I'm not fooling myself. I know that we have a long way to go, and that's what W.A.G.E is about, bringing awareness to that, and trying to crack that glass ceiling to let people know, even with wages, the word itself, we want equal wages, right?
Absolutely.
And we definitely want to be deemed as equal in terms of leadership and our ability.
Right. And one of your platforms to talk about these things is your Monday night talk show.
Yes, indeed.
Tell us about that.
My Monday night talk show, and like this one, there's no salary, but it's the work that I love because it allows me the opportunity to do outreach to everyone.
Yes.
And I have a vast audience, so sometimes we may be talking about educational issues, but other times we're talking about how to maintain relationships.
Right.
And reflecting on ourselves and how we can improve ourselves. And even from things like sweeping in front of the door, we've had conversations about, how to make friends with our neighbors, how to outreach, to people in our community. Because, in the state of technology being what it is, communication has taken a hit.
Yes, absolutely.
And, and I just always want to be mindful, that I share those things. And so we want to start meeting in our community to talk about those things. And we've started. I think we're up to maybe 10 or 12 people when we do meet, but we want to grow. And I know that takes time, but that's the goal. The goal is to grow. The goal is to empower women and to make sure that they have a space where they can come to talk about anything. There's nothing that is politically incorrect. If they're having an issue, whether it be with their children, which are common issues, again, women don't talk about. They'll say, oh, my child is doing great, oh, they're a student, but what about those issues? What about those social issues? What about when the child decides that they want to be disrespectful because they're caught in between being a child and being an adult? And how do you deal with that? So moms have challenges doing that, and they need to know that they're not alone. So that's another, component of W.A.G.E. And just ultimately, we want to make sure that women have a resource that they can go to, and with real women with real talk.
Right, right. So I want to talk a little bit about, we know you're an educator, you're an advocate, you are also the West Ward District Leader in the city of Newark. Yes, what motivated you to get involved, and what do you do with that?
Well, that's a great question. Okay, so how did I start that? Okay, so with the district leader piece, quite a few people came to me at my job as a middle school teacher and said that we have this program, the NJEA had a program, and they were training teachers to become more politically involved in the community. So, I said, oh, okay, well, and I tried it, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, everything that was introduced was things that I was passionate about, advocating for the community, helping to resolve problems. And I mean, it was one of the best things that I ever experienced.
Nice.
And so I got involved with that. I also, after that, got involved with Leadership Newark, which is another excellent political program. It's a 2-year program, and I would advise anyone to go and check it out because it really strengthens your leadership ability. And don't think that you have to be in politics to do it, because being a leader in the household is just as important.
Right.
And people underestimate the role of a woman in a household or a man, because a lot of men are doing the cooking and cleaning. So leadership is important no matter what, like even leading your family to eat properly, to eat the right foods. So that's how I got started. And we had to run for something at the end of the term. So I ran for district leader. I knew a lot of people in my area already. And we had previously a wonderful block association president. He had been gone for a couple of years, so I kind of re-energized that back up too. So I'm also the Block Association president.
Wonderful.
And you know, I love it. And basically, a district leader, what our objectives are, and it's not too heavy, but to get people involved in the process of voting. Yes. Right? And just to get them involved and, you know, to vote, to be a part of the community in that way.
Civic engagement.
Civic engagement. And a lot of people don't, because it's not taught in the schools. It's not a part of the curriculum.
It's part of the curriculum in East Orange.
Oh, really?
Yes. They are supposed to be learning these things.
Wow.
Okay, but you know.
So now with us getting back local control, maybe that's something that we can also push as an organization in our city as well.
Absolutely, and Newark should do that.
Indeed.
So on that vein, in your experience as a district leader and your training through the NJEA, now you've decided to run for mayor. What are some of your goals as mayor of the city of Newark?
Well, so let me just share with you that trajectory.
Okay.
Like I said, once I became, you know, I had taken on my law classes, I'm ready to become a principal, I realized, wait a minute, this person really doesn't have the impact I thought that they did. And we're experiencing a lot of social issues that impact our ability to be even more effective within the schools. Right. So, like I said, so then that's when I became a district leader. And with those educational issues, that's what initiated my foray into running for school board, which I've ran for school board now several times. And again, I thought that I had some skills that would be very important to assisting in the decision-making processes that went into building our district into a better, you know, educational hub for the entire city. And I realized that it wasn't just about democracy, that it was also about money, that it was also about who had the most money. And those things don't always correspond to getting a good education and having good educational decisions being made. Right. So
and having talent.
And having talent, absolutely. Yes. So after that, you know, I was a little bit disappointed because I saw that, again, there wasn't enough going on to really impact the community. And what I noticed is where there was supposed to be education reform going on, that's not what was prevalent. That's not what I saw. What I saw was labor reform. Okay. And it came in through the back door of the whole educational apparatus. And once I saw that, I noticed that the education reform people, what they started doing was running their own candidates for awards because they wanted, you know, to increase the number of charter schools. Me, myself, I've always been pro-education. I still am. So whatever works for your child, that's what works for your child. But I was and I still am a huge public school education advocate. Yes. Public schools, the public school board is, the primary job is to make sure that public schools get the things that they need. Right. Now, the charter schools, they have their own boards. So there was always a conflict of interest that lied there, always, right? Yes. Always. And, you know, and it just seemed so odd that you would have these huge debates back and forth about, you know, students not having necessary components such as substance abuse coordinators or attendance counselors or guidance counselors, or at least enough to actually touch the students. So those are some of the things that geared me into running for Westward candidate. But then I looked and I said, well, the impact still wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I sought to assist in the city with things that I saw going on that I didn't really approve of. And again, I want to stress that word, assist. Right. I want to say the word repeatedly. I went to be a part of, to try to assist, to try to see what's going on, try to get details. And that access was denied over and over again. I don't know if that was because I was a woman. I don't know if that was because, right, that I was a mere resident, or if I was just a mom who happened to own a home. But like I said, I'm very passionate about community getting more involved, democracy growing in terms of being engaged. So what better way to be engaged than to run for mayor and to be able to make a stronger impact on the community in which you live? And everybody should have the right to do that.
And I thank you and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
Because everybody wants me to run for mayor, but when I found out it's about how much money you have in a bank account, I think that is horrible, and it doesn't mean great leadership. Yeah. But for my final question for this evening, we've recently had Oprah make this amazing speech at an award ceremony. Right. What are your thoughts on the impact of her speech and its connection to this new Me Too movement? So,
great question. Great question. I mean, I like Oprah as much as anybody, her show. I think what she did it at a time that it was needed to be done. I think that she was a great person to spearhead this woman's empowerment time, because this is historic, what we're experiencing now. A lot of people talk about, historians such as, Rosa Parks and Harriet Tubman and their contributions to society, but I don't know if we as women really have embraced this time and this place to be historians ourselves for our youth, for the future. And that Oprah did a wonderful thing in giving other women permission to become leaders, other people permission to say, I'm not afraid to say me too. And in terms of that Me Too movement, because it's a little bit different, that's really important and passionate to me, because we have a similar situation that's going on in Newark right now as it pertains to that. And, what I just want to say is that, to the women, that W.A.G.E is here, for them. I am here, and I'm listening, and we're watching, we're paying attention, and we're definitely on the move.
Sheila, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your work in the community. I'm so grateful to you for giving so much back to our people, and because I work in the same way, and this is one reason why I had to have you on today.
Thank you.
So I just want to tell everyone, thank you for tuning in to We the Village.